Now it's recording. Let's make sure it is. Yep, it's recording. Let me get my mic on, make it sound a little bit better. All right, so here's two words that we're going to use today. We're going to talk about it. It's our main topic today. Now, I put part A because this is a long lesson, so we're going to break it up. Especially today's a little shorter, and we went over that quiz. So we're a little short on time today. 11:15. We got 20 minutes though. Okay, so let's talk about what parallel lines are. I think it's hard to remember what we talked about, so it's been a while. But we're just going to start from the beginning. Let's talk about parallel lines. So parallel lines, watch if I copied and pasted that. These two, yes, you're copying this. Okay, you're taking notes. Anytime a teacher writes something on a board or a screen, you should write it down. It shouldn't even be a question. It's a question that just befuddles me. All right, because yes, if I write something down, you write it down every single time. All right, so let's talk about this. Parallel lines. Parallel lines are lines that lie in the same plane and they never cross each other, okay? They will never intersect each other. Intersect means they would eventually cross. These two lines right here, I copied this and I pasted it so it's exactly the same line. And I just moved it over a little bit. These two lines will never touch each other, okay? They are parallel lines. We have a little symbol. Actually, let's put little arrows at the ends of them. Technically, when we have lines, we should always put arrows on the end. All right, if you remember that, we did talk about that when we were doing geometry earlier. All right, here's something that's a little bit new. I don't think we talked about this last time we did geometry. If I wanted to show that they're parallel to each other, so let's call this line L and line N, okay? Just looking at it right now, just looking at those two lines, I cannot say that they're parallel because I really don't know. There's no indication. There's nothing written down that says that they're parallel to each other. But a lot of times we'll do this. They'll put like a little arrow inside like this, okay? Sometimes they make it look like a little triangle. I don't know what the book does. They make it look like a filled-in little triangle right there, maybe a filled-in triangle. But when I write it down, I'll just put a little arrow, all right? So those arrows mean that those two lines are what to each other? They're parallel to each other. Lines can't equal each other, okay? But lines can be parallel to each other, all right? So they're parallel, which means what? If they're parallel, it means the lines never do what? They never touch each other, okay? They will never touch each other. Even though they keep on going forever, they're going to keep on going and keep on going, and they'll never intersect each other. That's parallel lines, okay? So that's one thing that you need to understand. Okay, here's a second thing that we're going to talk about. So that's parallel lines. We're going to talk a lot more about parallel lines, but that's what parallel lines are. Now we got to talk about this word right there, transversal. There is no transversal on here just yet, but I'm going to draw one. I'll do it in red since I'm still in red, about like that, okay? So that line right there is called a transversal. Why do you think that's a transversal? Because it touches what? Not just one of them, but both of them, okay? It intersects. We're not going to say touch. We're going to say intersect. Still too much talking. So they intersect both of these parallel lines. So this right there, we'll call it T. That's called a transversal. So here are two parallel lines, and here is a transversal. We'll come back to parallel lines another time, maybe not even today, all right? But this is what we're going to deal with a lot. We're going to deal with two parallel lines cut by a transversal. It's the first time I've said it. It's definitely not going to be the last because we're going to say this over and over and over again. You hear what I just said? Two parallel lines cut by what? A transversal. When I say cut by it, that means it intersects it, right? They go through the parallel lines. So that's what a transversal does here. Everybody with me so far? All right, we haven't really done anything real hard. All we're doing is just kind of telling you what these things are. All right, so now what we're going to do, and you got to pay attention to this. This is nothing. This is something that you can't have your head down, Nigeria, and a mirror. You cannot have your head down. You've got to pay attention because there's no way in the world you're going to know how to do this stuff if you're not paying attention to me. It's just not going to happen. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to draw just two random lines. They are not parallel to each other, okay? But I'm also going to draw a transversal. I'll just keep it in white. Now, this is not two parallel lines cut by transversal, but they are two lines cut by transversal. And you've got a whole bunch of angles that are formed by those three lines right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to number the angles. You know how we did angles before with points, right? Angle ABC, angle DEF, and all that kind of thing. We can also name them with numbers. So I'm going to make it really easy. I'm going to call that angle 1, call that one 2, 3, 4. Now down here, there's a bunch of angles down here as well, aren't they? So I'm going to call it, just keep going, 5, 6, 7, and 8. All right? Now what we're going to learn some words. We're not really going to do any math today, okay? Eventually, this thing will take us to some math, all right? But right now, we're just learning the words. And these words, I think, are very, very important. They're going to be on a quiz, going to be on a test, all right? So you need to know these words. So here we go. I'm going to list, let's do this one. I'm going to list all the angles that are called corresponding angles. So you need to know that word, so write it down. They're called corresponding angles. Do you remember the symbol for angle? Looks like that. I'm going to put apostrophe S. All right, so these are all my corresponding angles. Corresponding means they're the ones that match up, okay? Like, for instance, in this row right here, Cabri and Clea match up. They're the first seat in this row, first seat in that row, all right? Danae and Sierra, they match up. They correspond to each other. They're in the second seat of this row and the second seat of this row. Everybody with me on that? See how they match up? So what I want to do is I want to look at this group of 4 angles up here, and I want to look at this group of 4 angles down here. And I want to find which angles actually match up with each other, which are relatively in the same place, in the same spot. All right? So let's look at it like that. Look at this group of angles up at the top. Look at this group of angles down at the bottom. All right? So, Cabri, tell me which ones match up. Okay, very good. So let's write them down. Angle 1, I'm going to just put a comma because they're the ones that match up. I haven't said anything about them being equal to each other or adding up to something or anything like that, have I? I'm just listing the corresponding angles. All right? So 1 and 5 match up. How do I know that 1 and 5 match up? Well, look at this group of 4. Where is 1 located in this group of 4 angles? It's like in the top left, isn't it? So if you come down here to this group of 4 angles, which one is in the top left down in here? Angle 5 is. Everybody see that? Okay, so they match up. They correspond to each other. They're corresponding angles. Let's list some more. Let's go in order. Let's go angle 2. So angle 2 would match up with what down here? Angle 6, right, because angle 2 is in the top right, angle 6 is in the top right. Okay, so angle 2 and angle 6 match up with each other. Okay, let's keep going. Angle 3, which one matches up with angle 3 down here? Angle 7, good. Now you're getting the hang of it, right? 3 and 7 match up with each other. And then the last one, angle 4, matches up with what down here? Angle 8. So those are the corresponding angles. It's important that you know what those words mean because we're going to use that a lot through the rest of this chapter. We're going to talk about the corresponding angles. We're going to have these things called theorems. Remember theorems, right? It's been a while since we talked about them. We're going to have theorems that talk about corresponding angles. So make sure that you understand these. We actually have four groupings of different angles that match up with each other, all right? This is the first one, corresponding angles. Okay, so 1 and 5, 3 and 7, 2 and 6, 4 and 8. They're the ones that match up with each other. Everybody straight on this? Yeah, that was pretty easy. That was the first one to do. It's probably the easiest ones to recognize, right? Now, we have another set called, I'll write it right here, alternate, write this down, alternate interior angles. We've talked about this word interior back before we did the algebra stuff. The interior angles are the ones that are between the two lines. So look at this line right here and look at this line down here. Okay, not the transversal, but the two lines. Everybody see that? So look at those two lines. Which angles are the interior angles? Which angles are between those two lines? Let's name the lines. Call it L and M. All right. So what angles are in between line L and line M? Very good. 3, 4, 5, and 6. They're all interior. Everybody see that? So what would you call 1, 2, 7, and 8 then? The exterior. Good. And we're going to have two things. We're going to have alternate interior. What's the next one going to be? Alternate what? Exterior. Okay. In fact, let's just write it down. So alternate exterior. But we haven't talked about the alternate yet, have we? We're going to talk about that here just a second as soon as I finish writing this. Okay, let's talk about the alternate. So the interior angles is 3, 4, 5, and 6. The alternate means like angle 3. Which one is alternate of angle 3? It's the complete opposite. They got to be all interior, but what's the one that's completely opposite the angle 3? This one's here at the top left, right, of those 4 angles. This one right here is in the what? Bottom right. This one is in the bottom left. This one is in the top right. So which one's completely opposite or alternate to angle 3? Angle 6, that's right. So angle 3 and angle 6 are considered alternate interior angles. Let me write this down. So angle 3 and angle 6 are considered alternate interior angles. Again, we can only pick between 3, 4, 5, and 6. Which ones out of those 4 are complete opposites of each other? 3 and 6. Do you see any other alternate interior angles in here? 4 and 5, exactly. Okay, we'll put an angle 4 and angle 5. So you only have 2 sets of alternate interior angles. You had 4 of them for corresponding. You only got 2 of them for alternate interior. You see that? The 3 and the 6 are completely opposite. 4 and the 5 are completely opposite. They're on different sides of the transversal. I'll call this T for transversal. They're on different sides of the transversal. One's up here, one's down here. Everybody good? You think you can remember those? Well, you're going to have to. All right, so you're going to have to go back and remember these. Now, with that said, I bet you can figure out what the alternate exterior angles are. So we listed them earlier. What are they? 1, 2, what else? 7 and 8. So let's take a look at angle 1. Which one is alternate exterior with angle 1? Angle 8. Very good. All right, because angle 1 is over here on the top left. Angle 8 is down here on the bottom right. They're complete opposite to each other. And what else? Angle 2 and, yep, angle 7. Very good. All right, so angle 2 right here and angle 7, they're also alternate exterior angles. Again, I'm just repeating myself, but I'll say it again. We're not really doing anything just yet with them. We will in a little bit. Maybe not today, but probably tomorrow. We're gonna do not just any 2 lines cut by transversal. We're gonna do 2 parallel lines cut by transversal. And there's something that's true about the corresponding angles. There's something that's true about the alternate interior, and there's also something true about the alternate exterior angles. Okay? If any more people fall asleep, I'll feel like I'm in here by myself. Got a bunch of people falling asleep. All right. We got one more. We got one more set, and I'm kind of running out of room. Let me just grab this and move it to the left a little bit, just to give myself a little bit of room. There we go. So I could write inside here. We got one more set. We got 1 set, 2, 3. Here's another one, and they are called consecutive. Consecutive interior angles. I'll just shorten interior. Is that all right? INT? Yes, ma'am. Did you say same side? Well, that's what we're going to do right now. And I was about to say this. Or, now our book calls it this. Everybody look up here. Our book calls them consecutive interior angles. Okay? Mine came from a school where they probably called it something different. And I used to teach out of a book that used to call it this. And I kind of like it the way the other book named this angle. Okay, I'm going to show you what it is, but we're going to use this word, though, consecutive interior angles. Or you could call them same side. Is that what you're talking about? Same side interior angles? It's the same exact thing, all right? So the same side interior angles. I like this because it kind of makes more sense. Because the same side of what? The same side of the, what is that? The transversal, right? The T for transversal, okay? So what I want to do is I want to find all the interior angles. We already talked about the interior angles, didn't we? Okay, so what are the interior angles? Just list them all. What are all the interior angles? 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are the interior. Now, which pairs of angles are on the same side of the transversal? Angle 3 and angle what? 5. Okay, and there's another set. Angle what? 4. No, 2 is exterior. It's not interior. These are all interior. So 4 and 6, that's right. So angle 4 and angle 6. Those are the same side interior angles. We're not even going to deal with same side exterior angles. But again, we don't say, in this book anyway, this book does not refer to them as same side interior angles. They refer them as consecutive interior angles, which means they're, I hate to even say that, but they're kind of next to each other, kind of. But anyway, you've got here and you've got there. They're consecutive, okay, one after another, and then 3 and 5 are consecutive, one after another. I really like the name same side better, but this book is going to call it consecutive interior. And on the quiz, I might ask you, what is the relationship? You hear the word I'm using? What is the relationship between angles 4 and 6? So you give me one of these. Are they corresponding? Are they alternate interior? Are they alternate exterior? Or are they consecutive interior? What is 4 and 6 to each other? They're consecutive interior. What is the relationship between angle 1 and angle 8? What are they? Look at angle 1 and look at angle 8. What are they? They're exterior angles, and they're alternate, right? They're complete opposites. So 1 and 8 are alternate exterior angles. What's angle 4 and 5? What's the relationship between 4 and 5? Alternate what? Interior. They're in between these two lines, so they're alternate interior. What's the relationship between 1 and 5? 1 and 5, what are they? Corresponding angles. 1 and 5 are corresponding. What is 4 and 8? 4 and 8. They're corresponding, okay? What's 2 and 7? Alternate exterior angles. 2 and 7 are alternate exterior angles, okay? That's the kind of stuff that I could ask you. Now, that's going to be maybe like the first question or first 2 questions. We're going to do a lot more after that, okay, than this. I thought she said she was going to. I told her to hang on to them, but. Oh, she left her class? Okay. All right. Let's see what else I got. That might be it for today anyway. Yeah. What we're going to do, I'll just give you a sneak preview. I only got a couple minutes left. I'll give you a sneak preview of what we're going to talk about tomorrow. What was the name of this lesson? It was blank and transversals. What was it? Parallel lines and transversals. Okay? So watch. Here's 2 parallel lines. Actually, you don't know they're parallel just by looking at them yet. What would you have to see on here? You have to see a little arrow, right? Okay? Or they could do this. If this was line L and line M, they could tell you that line L was parallel. Have I shown you that symbol before? I think I did, yeah. L is parallel to M. So, look, that's line L. That's a cursive L. So that's line L and that's line M. The little 2 lines right there, that means parallel, okay? So line L is parallel to line M. This is a transversal. I'll call it T again for transversal. All right, just wait, I'm almost done. So let's take a look. What we're going to do tomorrow is we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to go 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we're going to see which ones are corresponding and all that stuff. But if the lines are parallel, then we can say something about 1 and 5. Take a wild guess. What do you think you could say about angle 1 and angle 5? Well, they're corresponding to each other, but now you got parallel lines. So what do you think is true about this angle and angle 5? They look equal to each other, don't they? Okay? And they absolutely are. All right? We're going to talk about that tomorrow. Okay? So that's what we're going to be doing tomorrow. Okay. That's it.